Welcome back to Joe Chambers Questions Everything. I'm in Cape Town. Hey! So beautiful. As you could probably hear, I could barely contain my enjoyment and my excitement about being in the beautiful city of Cape Town. I was ready to start my adventure. I wanted to explore this city. I wanted to understand its history, which is incredibly rich, and I wanted to enjoy the natural beauty that surrounds and penetrates the city of Cape Town. I started off at the V&A Waterfront. Now, this isn't Victoria and Albert, this is Victoria and Alfred. If you're like me, you're probably thinking, who the heck is Alfred? Well, Alfred was actually Victoria's son, not her side piece in South Africa. And Alfred, Prince Alfred, laid the first rocks for breakwater in Cape Town in 1860, which led to the harbour's establishment. And it's a lovely place to spend a little bit of time and become acquainted with the city. And I had the most amazing view for a coffee on my first day. And you'll find lots of these frames where you can take the perfect picture for your social media. A very picturesque place. And this is a statue of Cecil Rhodes, who has a very checkered history in Africa, and I did not realise that Rhodesia was actually named after him. And this is the University of Cape Town, which I think looks like one of the most incredible places to study with that backdrop. Can you imagine scoring a winning drop goal with that background? And Hoop Bay Sports Complex is also another very cool place. I would love to play sports one day. Hit that top corner, top pins. Okay, I need your help with a few things. When I went to Bo-Kaap, which is what this place right here is with all the colourful houses, I was told 3 different theories as to why they were so colourful. Now, if you look on Google, it will say that these houses were built in the 1700s and they homed enslaved people from Malaysia, Indonesia, Africa. That's why there's a strong Malaysian population and influence around this area. But one of the reasons that they were supposedly painted is because to celebrate freedom, they painted the houses from white to colourful. Another one is that lots of people would stumble up to the houses when they'd had a few too many drinks, and the coloured houses were a way to let people know which one was for which purpose. And another theory is they worked for a person who sold paint and they had some left over. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
So you can get properties that is way above 40 million rand, all the way to 700 million rand. Homes with names.
As you drive out of the city centre and you get closer to the coast, you can go through some very extravagant and expensive areas where some of the richest people in the world have homes. People like Richard Branson. And one of these homes that he had was actually the house used in the movie Iron Man. That's right, Tony Stark, although he supposedly is in California, his house, there it is actually in Clifton in Cape Town. And if you look, you can find it on Airbnb, and for the price of 2 nights, it will set you back £14,000. I would have booked it, but the home gym didn't have weights high enough for me, so I passed. What a view. This is the smoky version of what is called as the 12 Apostles. And there's these buttresses that face the sea coming off of Table Mountain, and they're meant to be named after the apostles. But there's actually more than 12, so it's a bit of a strange thing to have called them. Maybe they couldn't count properly back then. I really hope this footage does it justice, because it truly was a magical view. If you're the type that likes road trips, then I definitely think Cape Town has to be on your list. The roads along the coast are stunning and they look really fun to drive on.
And getting ready to the gates.
And this is one of the most famous roads in Cape Town. This is known as the Chapman's Peak Drive, which is a scenic route between Hout Bay and Noordhoek. And it's cliffside, it's very colourful, and you get to go along a lot of different curves, so highly recommended if you're a road tripper. You probably recognise this road either from social media or from adverts, and in particular there is the Chapman's Peak Drive Tunnel, which is a very cool piece of engineering built into the cliffside. We entered the Cape of Good Hope Nature Reserve, which is within Table Mountain National Park, and we will go into Cape Point and the lighthouse. And I had filmed a time lapse of me walking all the way up, but unfortunately it didn't save, so I was quite disappointed with that, but you gotta let it go. It was all the way back in 1488 when Portuguese explorer Bartolomeu Dias was the first around the Cape Peninsula, and due to the bad weather, he named it the Cape of Storms. But then a decade later, Vasco da Gama, famed explorer, he navigated the same route, sailed down the coast of Africa, and opened a new trading route for Europe with India and the Far East. That's when they renamed it the Cape of Good Hope, because they were optimistic about the new trade route between Europe, India, and the East. I'm at the Cape of Good Hope, which, before the Dutch and the British had arrived, was discovered, or reached rather, by Vasco da Gama, and this was the point where ships would encounter storms, and it was very treacherous. But it was an important trade route for reaching India, where there was lots of spices. So Vasco da Gama, famed explorer, called this the Cape of Good Hope, because if you could reach this point, get past it, then you had a lot of hope you may return with a bounty full of spices and all sorts of wonders from other parts of the world. Cape Town's history is the history of trade and colonial ambition. From the Portuguese to the Dutch to the British, everyone who landed and went round this part of the world wanted a piece. From history to beautiful nature, Cape Town doesn't disappoint. You can see caterpillars, ostriches, and even some seals. Now, long before these seals settled on that rock, the Dutch in 1652 established a settlement at the Cape of Good Hope, and this was led by Jan van Riebeeck on behalf of the Dutch East India Company, and this was the first permanent European settlement. So the Portuguese had established a lighthouse in this area, but it was the Dutch that were the first to settle it in what eventually became known as Cape Town. And as this settlement grew, this is how the Dutch community eventually evolved, became the origin of the Afrikaner people. And when the British came to occupy the Cape, that was initially in 1795, and then permanently in 1806, all the way till 1910. There were penguins there back then as well. This is the famous Boulders Beach, where there is a penguin colony of African penguins. Now, African penguins have been referred to as jackass penguins because they actually make sounds that sound like a donkey. And these cute little things are monogamous, so they will mate for life. And unfortunately, if their partner dies, they often spend the rest of their time alone. I think this is a threesome though, so maybe they're bucking the trend. And they usually lay 2 eggs at a time, and both parents will take turn incubating them, and that's usually for about 38 days. I really like this video because that penguin was struggling to get up, which I find quite funny. But they are adorable when they walk. And these are little baby penguins. Hungry little baby penguins. And if you have a heart at all and you really care about these baby penguins, then you'll like this video and you'll subscribe to this channel. You know it makes sense. Do the right thing. Because of the cloud that you saw earlier in the video, which looked very impressive from below, we'd actually had to reschedule and move everything round. So instead of doing Table Mountain first, we did it last, which was meant to give us a chance to see Table Mountain with no cloud. I'll let you be the judge if that was the case. There's no doubt that South Africans are musical people, and give them half a chance they will start singing and dancing, but they do make a beautiful sound and they do it so well. So, let me know in the comments, do you think the cloud has passed, or yeah, we can't see that cable car anymore? I was taking in the view on the cable car, which is really fun because it rotates all the way around, giving you great views of the city and of the mountain. But we got to the point where the cloud started, which still looked pretty cool, but I wasn't feeling my chances of getting much of a view from the top. And it felt like we were entering some sort of James Bond villain secret lair.
We now at the height of 1,067 meters above sea level. That's about 3,500 feet. Your exit to the left, facing the building, and enjoy your time on the mountain. Thank you.
So there I was on top of a mountain in shorts, and it was pretty cold, and everyone was looking at me thinking I was crazy. But when you think about it, it's still pretty cool because I'm technically in a cloud right now. And I love how even on top of Table Mountain, there's a red post box. Coffee with a view. Table Mountain, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and the oldest mountain at 625 million years old, and the views here are spectacular, I've heard. Although I can't see anything, it's still amazing to be up here. And I've actually drank some of the water that they harvest from the fog. You can buy Table Mountain water. And that's even a post box up here. And I learned an interesting fact. So Table Mountain, when it does have the cloud cover, the fog on top, they call that tablecloth. Hey. Good day. Seen some penguins, seen a whale, been to Table Mountain, cable cars. I met some cool people, so getting a good impression of South Africa and of Cape Town. It's such a big country though. This trip definitely won't do it justice, but hopefully I'll be able to do Cape Town justice. And I'm looking forward to my trip tomorrow to Robben Island to see where Nelson Mandela spent the majority of his prison sentence, and hoping to learn more about his struggle and what helped him get through that time and come out of it with such a strong sense for reconciliation and a vision for a future South Africa. And then I'd also like to think about his legacy, what it means not just for South Africa but for the entire world, as an incredible leader, role model, and for someone who, even past his death, still carries such respect among all kinds of people, and how we can do with a leader like Nelson Mandela now.
Once again, I want to thank you guys so very much for joining the tour with
I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to look out for the next one where I go to Robben Island, and then my video about my hike on Table Mountain. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.